So there are a lot of recipes available for us to choose from to make paper mache, but this is a pretty easy and tried and true one. It is a 1-to-1 flour to warm water mix. Um, and so I'm using a cup of flour and a cup of hot water. I just got this water from the tap. So I just let the water in my kitchen sink go for a bit. And now I'm going to mix it up. You want to get all the lumps out of your flour. And so I'm using a fork rather than a spoon because that kind of helps. I also brought down to the studio a whisk to sort of help me get any of these lumps out. This is going pretty good. What I'm also whenever I make this, I always keep my water and my flour handy because, it's 1-to-1. But, if it seems like to me, to my eye, this is just a little too thick. I mean, not too bad, but it was just a little thicker than I like to use. So I might pour in a little bit of water. There are some, if you were to look on YouTube for recipes for paper mache, the water flour, some of them might say like use an immersion blender to blend it all out. That to me, like if you wanted to do that, that's great. I just don't think it's that necessary. Water and flour is a great time-tested adhesive. What's weird is that you add sugar and you get yourself a cake. So I don't know what that says about us, but there it is. So this is looking pretty good. I'm going to put in just a little bit more water and I'm going to mix it up a little bit. And then we are ready to start. Okay, so once you have your paper mache mixture all mixed up, ready to go, there's other things that you're going to need. I have made some strips of paper. I had a bunch of gray construction paper, and so I tore it into strips, and this is what I'm going to use. Construction paper is a really good thing to use, but really any kind of paper will be good. In the art room, we would normally use newspaper, but I don't have any newspaper right now, so I'm hoping that this is going to be a good substitute. I have that, my mixture, my paper. I have some paper towel and a rag because this is messy. I also have this on a tray. It's for easy cleanup. Now this thing that I made, this is what we would call an armature. An armature is something in art that's like the structure underneath something. Okay. So, like the structure underneath us is our bones. This is going to be the bones of our sculpture. So I have made out of cardboard and magazine pages and tape my octophant, right? My elephant with octopus legs. Normal stuff. So I'm going to put I'm going to dunk these in my mixture. I'm going to put it on here. But there's something kind of interesting about this. It's, there's legs and it stands, but they're really fragile. So I have made, like a little stand for myself. And I just took a piece of cardboard and I taped it onto a can of spray paint. So I can just go like that. That's going to be easy for me. I will still be picking this up. But I just it's like I made myself like an extra pair of hands, essentially. So I'm going to take my my strips and I'm going to dunk it in here. Now there's a whole lot of stuff on there, right? So I'm going to take my fingers like a scissors and I am going to get all that off. Now I want my paper to be, I want it to be like thoroughly saturated on both sides. And then I'm going to put it on here and I'll be picking this up as I go. And I'm going to kind of smush it onto my armature. Now, the way I do paper mache is when I put the strips on, I try to keep my the direction of my strips deliberately random. It's stronger. It will always be stronger rather than your pieces all going in one direction. It's like you're weaving it across. So a lot of times in order to have me remind myself is, you see, I have one strip there and I have another strip there. And that is, I'm just going to always kind of try to have a little bit of overlap. How many layers am I going to put on? I don't want to put on any more than 3. So in any 3 or 4, in any one direction, I don't want to have like, let's say 4. I don't want to have any more than 4 pieces of my paper, the paper mache paper on here. I don't want to have more than 4, because it helps. It wouldn't dry if there's too much on there. And then if it's sometimes like it can be like the more you have on there, the less stable it gets, because if it doesn't have a chance to dry all the way, then it just won't dry. And one thing that I should say about the paper mache mixture is you want to make it that day. You don't want to save this. So if you start this one day, you're like, oh, I gotta go do that thing that I meant to do, and you have to leave your project, I wouldn't save it. Because it can get moldy. And the nice thing is, like, water, like a little bit of water and a little bit of flour, it's fairly inexpensive. So just don't make too much. Like I'm only making what I think I need. I'm not going to need all of this. But I will need, most of it. So it's just, I figured a cup either way would be good. So, I'm just going to kind of continue doing this. It's, it's super fun because, it's like I'm making something that didn't exist. And I made this thing that didn't exist out of items that I just had lying around, like the cardboard that I used to make my armature was from, like packages that I received at my house, rather than before I went to recycle them. I am using parts of them for this. I had, I have my tape in my studio, and I had an old magazine, and that was it. And I mean, if there's a more awesome way to make art, I don't know it, There's a more awesome way to make art than by like finding random things around your house that you would otherwise put in the recycling bin. That's pretty cool to me. So, gosh, I'm not gonna lie. depending on your object that you are paper macheing, it gets a little awkward after a while to hold on to it. But, it's this octofant came from my I made it up. So there's not really a blueprint for me to follow. So I just kind of have to, it's okay to be a little clumsy. Now, with some of these strips, like you can see, I'm making them all, I'm still using like really long ones. And for some of this stuff, like the tusks and the trunk and stuff, I'm probably going to tear those in half, just to make it a little bit more manageable for myself, but that's fine. So, I'm going to keep on going on this for a little bit, and then I'm going to bring you back in when I am at my finishing touches. Okay. I mean, so far it's looking pretty awesome. I turned my Octafant over so that you can see how I am dealing with these leg joints, which are, you know, it can be pretty tricky. So I have one right here, and it's sort of, I'm sort of wrapping. I mean, there's not like a right way to do this. But, you know, so I'm just trying to do it as best I can. I'm wrapping my piece of paper in the paper mache mixture, like at the base, like right in here, so that the legs are connected to the body. Both, you know, in the armature with the tape and the magazines, but also with the paper mache. And, you know, it can get a little tricky, obviously, but you know, that's kind of the fun, right? To see if it can actually work. The other thing about, you know, having a 1-to-1 paper mache mixture, 1-to-1, one part flour to 1 part water, is that this is pretty thick. And, you know, whenever there's a place where I'm just like, I don't know if that paper, you know, is sitting on that other paper nicely, I'm just taking my finger and kind of like smooshing it around. The point of this, what I'm hoping to do once this is dry, is to then paint it. And I think it should look pretty cool if it dries. Now, the drying is important. I like to give this to overnight. Like you know, if you can give it 8 or 12 hours, that's awesome. This is not something that you can just like, you know, start in an afternoon and finish it before dinner. This is really like a couple days worth. So that is something to consider when you are setting up your workspace. You know, if you normally would work on this sort of project in the kitchen, you got to ask your grown-up to make sure that, like, you know, can I keep this tray with this sculpture on it, you know, in this corner of the room for a day? You know, it's just good to be, you know, sort of respectful. Sort of like if you were doing this in the art room, you would say like, hey, Miss Amy, can I keep this over here? Is it gonna, you know, is anybody gonna knock it? You know, you want to be safe. You want your piece to be safe, but you also want to be super respectful of everybody. So that's, you know, it's always good to check, especially since like midway through this sculpture, you don't want to find out that, like, you know, when you have like, you know, 2 hands full of like a glue water mixture, to find out that there's really no place to store this. So gotta just, you know, this is one of those things that you really have to double check that it's cool to start it, you know, where you start it. I wanted to share with you what this will look like when you're all done putting on your paper mache. It's gonna look weird, right? It looks clumpy, it's covered in a sticky, gooey flour, and that is all right. That's how it's gonna be until it's, you know, while it's drying. It's gonna be like this for, you know, overnight, let's say. When we come back and look at this, we're going to see what it looks like when it's dry, and then we can start adding to it. But right now, I'm just going to let my Octafant have a nice sleep and hopefully dry off a little bit. So I have let my Octafant dry for 24 hours, and it looks great. It even stands up. It is all dry. All the legs are on there. And so now all I have to do is paint it. So I have finished painting my Octafant, and I could not be happier. This is actually one of my favorite things that I've ever made. And I'm not just saying as an art teacher, just like as an artist. I think it's really fun. So, I mean, the nice thing about looking at this, seeing from where it started to where it ended up, you can make a really awesome, super compelling, interesting animal that doesn't really exist except now in my studio.